Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, goals strategist, book proposal specialist, author of books on goals, and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, and your goal guide. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people, and unless it's on purpose, they don't know each other. And not only do the people today not know each other, they're all from very different aspects of my world. So I love that I get to bring them all together. Now, if you're watching this as GoalChat Live, it's March 30th. If you're listening to this, it is after April 2nd. So this is like my last show for Women's History Month. I've had 4 female-centric panels, and I'm mostly female-centric anyway, but I feel like this month we got to do things a little bit extra special, really digging into the empowerment. And last week we did mindset. And it's really, we're here for each other and to elevate one another. But we also need to treat our lives, our businesses like a business and find balance, which is see how I got there, which is what we're talking about today, business balance. And I'm really excited to be joined by Laura Berman Fortgang, and she and I were in a summit together a little over a month ago, and it was great. I was on a panel, and I got each panelist on a different goal chat. Laura's the first of those joining me. Becky Mollenkamp, who is the founder of the Feminist Podcasters Collective, and I met her through fellow MPNer, Candice Rodarte. So thank you, Candice, if you're watching, for connecting us. Really excited to have you here. And Joie Seldon, who I met through Innovation Women, which is a self-service women speakers platform aimed at getting women on more stages and having less male-centric panels out there. And you all come at business, you're all coaches, consultants, all aimed at helping elevate people, but you do it from a different aspect. So I'm very excited. We're going to have a nice, deep divey conversation today. You might be watching us as GoalChat Live. You might be listening to us as GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network. But no matter where you found us, we are so glad you're here. Before we dive on in, friends, please share a little bit more about each of you, because right now all people know is you're awesome, which is accurate, but I kind of feel like we should tell them a little more. So Laura?
Sure, happy to start you off. I'm Laura Berman Fortgang. You can call me Laura Fortgang, that's fine. I'm a master credentialed coach to the International Coaching Federation, author of 5 books. I'm a TEDx speaker with over 2 million views, and I work with other coaches and consultants to increase their impact and therefore their income.
Awesome. Because they all kind of intertwine.
They do.
And what is it about this subject that you were like, yes, I definitely need to be on this panel?
Well, I mean, I've worked from home since before people worked from home. I've always been seeking a way to have balance. And, I've had my business since before I had kids to now they're grown and 2 are left at home, but they're almost out. So I definitely have a lot to say about, how do you have balance, or whatever we call this, because there's no such thing as balance. It's always tenuous. Mm-hmm. How do you not let your business take over your life?
And vice versa.
Exactly. Right? Or have your life not allow you to do your business.
Exactly. Well, wonderful to have you here. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Becky, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So please share who you are, because you do more than had the Feminist Podcast Collective. So
yeah, that's really more of a fun side project that I built just because I wanted the space. My real work is as a coach. I'm a feminist business coach. I work with founders who want to grow their business, but want to do that in a way that honors their people first values, that care about bringing full humanity into business. And I'm the author of the forthcoming book, Liberate Your Business, which comes out on April 30th. So I'm very excited to share that as well.
Amazing. Well, congratulations and thrilled to have you here. And what is it about balance for you that you thought, oh, good, this is a great fit for me?
Well, it really aligns with the way I show up with my work around running human first businesses, because if our business isn't honoring our full humanity, it will take over our lives. And a business that does honor us as full humans who need rest, who need play, who need joy, then we have to make space for those things. And so I really want to work with owners and founders who want to have businesses that do that, allow them to have both the work and the joy that they get from that, but also full lives outside of their business.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining this. Definitely the right fit for you as well. And then we have Joy. Welcome.
Hello.
Glad to have you here. And so we met through Innovation Women, and I also do a mixer once a month, GoalChat online, for people who want to, hang out with like-mindeds, but also for potential guests so we can get to know each other better. So thrilled. You remember you introduced yourself in the group, and I'm like, oh, do I have the panel for you? So Joy, please share who you are and why you are here, other than because I said so.
I'm an author and speaker, and I'm the author of a book called Emotions and Owner's Manual. And I am a coach. I've been working with professional women for close to 20 years, that helping them to take this aspect of being a human being that's been so demoralized, denigrated, and lessened, which is your emotions, and turning them into a real power tool to help you make decisions and choices in your life. And I think it's also an incredible tool for helping create balance, because a lot of what throws us off are emotional issues. And when we can learn to be in charge of them and utilize our emotions in the way that they're meant as an information system, then we have the power to create not just balance, but an integration of our personal, professional, spiritual, whatever aspects are important to you in your life. So that's what I do. And my most recent project, it's still in the works, but I'm establishing the Emotional Evolution Institute to continue the work and do trainings in it.
Awesome. And what I think is particularly amazing about each of you is you not just walk the walk, you talk the talk, but you also create different places where people can learn more. They can connect with one another. And Becky's nodding. I always say GoalChat is my favorite networking, because it's a place for me to connect people who need to know each other, but also to have deeper conversations with new friends, or bring people in who I haven't seen in a while. Oh, we haven't had a conversation. Just come on the show. And as I said before, and I will probably repeat again, you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. There's also the question of, what do we call it? Is it work-life balance? Is it Elena Hall, who's one of the achievers I interviewed for 52 Secrets, calls it work-life harmony. You never find the balance, but you do find a way to make everything kind of sort of be work. But let's start with the most basic of questions, which is, what is your definition of business balance? Becky, want to start us off here?
Well, I agree with whoever you just mentioned. Sorry, I've already, Melody, maybe you said. That's
Elaine, right?
Sorry, Elaine. I don't know where I got Melody. Maybe it was because of harmony. But yeah, that's usually the term I use as well.
Harmony. I like that.
I'm using it. I usually go with harmony as well, just because it feels nice. And I think it sort of settles in our body in that way of when things feel like they're humming together nicely. It's balance would mean I'm giving equal time to work and life. And there are seasons where that might be possible, but most often that's not going to be. We can't literally balance the two out. It's more about how are these two things playing together well in a way that feels good in our body, that feels good for our lives and those around us, and allows us to live the way we want to live. So I'm with that. I'm with the person who says, let's call it harmony. But I think what you call it matters a whole lot less than just how does it feel for you.
Oh, that is such a good point, because you can have all the ideas in the world, but if it's not working for you, then there's absolutely no point in doing the things, right? Joy, what about you? What is your definition? I have a feeling like you're going to tack on to this.
Yes, definitely. It certainly is a balance between work and personal life, but I think it's also within the work itself, in your day-to-day, chores. Whether you're got a to-do list a mile long and you're just trying to plow through it, or is there a way to find that you do the tasks that need to be done in a way that keeps you in balance, so your body, I'm also very into the body, what's going on in your body, and whether that stress, your mental state is balanced, your emotions are balanced, your relationships with other people, are they in a sense of balance, meaning that there is a give and take, there's flow, and a flow of energy is also part of what I would think of as balance.
Well, energy is so important, because if you're not putting forth the right energy anyway,
Mm-hmm.
what the heck are you doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Laura, your turn to define business balance.
Yeah, I use the term integration, that it have to integrate the work with life, that it, that it's not seamless necessarily, but that it's it was so beautifully said, like, it's not about balance, because something's always going to be out of balance, but it's how you integrate it. Like, for me, I mean, I make it in very practical terms. Like, I see those emails come in on the weekend, I look, but I don't answer them, because I don't want to create the message that you can reach me over the weekend. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I see them, I stay informed, but I don't answer till first thing Monday morning, because I don't want to give the message that I'm going to work every weekend. So that's just one practical definition right there.
Well, I love that. So when I'm doing goal workshops and talking about strategies for success, I give that exact example, because or what I say is, you need to set your own boundaries. What time of day will you stop looking at emails? No, what time do you stop responding? And then what time do you stop looking? Because we always look a little bit later.
Right.
Then we respond. But you are basically, balance is teaching people how to treat you, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Like, what are the boundaries around my time? What are the boundaries around, even like, I don't do emergencies unless, of course, it's a medical emergency with my children or something. But, when a client has an emergency, I get that something's urgent, but I also, want to train the drama out of them, to say it that way. Like, it doesn't have to be an emergency. I get that this is important to you. I get that you have a time crunch, but we don't have to have a whole energy sapping experience in it. So it's really, looking at what are your boundaries in the way people behave, in your time, in how you behave. And that's how you start creating this integration or business balance, whatever we want to call it.
And I love the use of boundaries. I mean, it was a tangent we were bound to land on. It just happened sooner than I expected. So what about you, Becky? What are your boundary rules?
I mean, I have quite a few, but one of mine is that I shouldn't say like this is hard and fast, because that's also part of the thing about boundaries, especially when they're boundaries with yourself. You can change them as you need to. But in general, I work in my office, not elsewhere in my home, so that when I'm in here, it's work time. When I close the door, I'm done. I close my laptop and I'm done. Like Laura, I don't work on the weekends. I don't work after hours. This right now was an exception for me, that I'm working at 6 o'clock my time. Ordinarily, I'm done when my son gets off school, and that's it until the next day when I take him to school. And then I have boundaries around things like what I will and won't accept as far as how people can treat me, talk to me, the kinds of clients I want to work with. I have a value set, and I definitely have boundaries around that of wanting to work with people who share my value set, because that's really important too for me. Because, like Laura's talking about, sort of the quote unquote drama, or the clients who sort of feel like everything is urgent. I've been there before. And that's sort of that toxic capitalist conditioning we all have around thinking everything has to be urgent. And my value set, the way I show up now, those kinds of clients generally don't work with me and want to work with me anyway, because that's not the kind of, I'm very against hustle culture and all of that. And they know that, and my messaging is clear. So I think putting boundaries around the kinds of clients I work with has also helped me just be able to have a little bit better balance, because I'm working with clients who understand that I'm a mom with a younger child, and that's going to take priority, who understand that I'm not going to be available on the weekends, because that doesn't fit with the kinds of businesses they want to build either. So I think those are some of the things that come to mind. I'm sure I have other boundaries that I'm not thinking of at the moment, but those are some of the key ones I think that help me with balance.
Amazing. And we're going to come back to talking about the importance of being mission driven just as soon as we let Joy answer this question.
Good, because this is one of my favorite topics, is boundaries. And one of the things that I discovered when I began working as a coach, that boundaries showed up with every single client, no matter what they presented, what they were coming in, what their goals were, is to work with boundaries. And one of the things that I do, because I'm somatic trained as a somatic therapist, that I work with energetic boundaries. And I find that energetic boundaries are really powerful in terms of keeping balance, because you are able to keep energies out of your personal space that affect your thinking or affect you emotionally. And so that if you learn how to create an energetic boundary, you can be with people who may trigger you or you don't like, or who are difficult to work with, challenging people. They're much easier to be able to stay present and grounded, which is another aspect of being balanced, is to be grounded in yourself and to be able to deal with whatever the situation is that comes up by working with these energetic boundaries.
Important, because it goes back to, and I'm going to tie it into the mission thing, when you know who you are, what you're about, who you want to work with, but also your soul,
Yes.
what is your happy place, then we get into a whole law of attraction thing you do. But let's talk about it. And the D in the Deb method stands for determine your mission, because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. So I'd love for you all to yes, I speak words, reiterate your mission and how you came to that, in terms of the way that directs all that you do. Laura?
Sure. I mean, I heard a statistic a few years ago that 82% of coaches fail in their business within 2 years. And that set me off like, whoa, only 18% succeed. And so my mission has been to teach coaches the business side of the business. They spend a lot of money on their training and on their skill set, but not on how to have a business. And that even goes for, people who ran $55 million budgets in corporations. It's a different animal when you go to run your own show. So my mission is to have that number be much greater, and let's switch it. 18% don't make it, 82% do make it.
Oh yeah, I love that. And the importance of having a mission, it really guides the decisions you make in your business. Yes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that it makes me think, what activities am I doing? Do they match the mission? Am I getting distracted by some shiny coin or something, that takes me off mission, off brand, right? So yeah, it's a guiding force when you have that at the core of what you're up to.
It is like a superpower, for sure. And Becky, I saw a lot of nodding.
Oh, well, yeah, I agree. I understand because I've been coaching for more than a decade now, and I know, and I have a coaching community that I'm also a part of, and I know how many people do come and leave for the very reason that Laura's talking about. So I think her work's really important. My mission is to help business owners survive capitalism, business owners who have a heart, because capitalism is designed to be extractive, not just from corporations taking from their employees, but from self-employed people taking from themselves, right? Extracting from themselves to the point of complete exhaustion, burnout, overwhelm. So I want to help people survive that so that they can run businesses that are sustainable over time, that don't kill them quite literally, and that they actually love and enjoy and can continue to enjoy for years to come, instead of it being the kind of thing they get in and exhaust themselves and then say, I can't do this, and go back to traditional employment where they also get overwhelmed and burned out and used and abused. And, that's been a slow process for me when you ask where that came from, because when I first started coaching, I was doing more sort of traditional life coaching. I've been in business for myself since 2005. Like Laura, I've been working from home for a really long time and have had to find ways to find that balance by working from home. But, for me, I'm in St. Louis. At the time of Michael Brown's murder in Ferguson, that led to a lot of uprising that people might know about, that was a half mile from my doorstep. And it really brought all of those issues to my home. And of course, my white privilege allowed it to be that long before it really came to my door. But that really helped me with some unlearning process and understanding that I had done all this anti-racism work on myself, and then realizing my business was still replicating so much of this harm that exists inside of capitalism. And I didn't want that to continue. And so I did the work for myself, and then I'm now helping others with that. And, it does affect all of my decisions, because if I can't walk the walk, then why should anyone listen to my talk, right? So my business needs to model that we can treat ourselves like humans and still be successful and have a life that feels really good.
Amazing. And sometimes it comes in little ways, that light bulb over your head. And sometimes it's like a piano, boom, right? So I think what's so important is to get there. Doesn't matter how or when. But the other thing that I particularly love that you say is, I always tell people, I do much better when I follow the Deb method, when I do things and when I feel like I know better than myself. I'm always surprised, shocked, whatever. So and my mission, is to help people, whether it is for their goals and to create the life they deserve and desire, or to create a winning book proposal that gets attention from agents and publishers. My through line is simplified. Goal setting simplified, book proposal simplified, because doing these things is difficult enough. I make the instructions easy. And again, it's about having these conversations and bringing people the tools they need to create the life they deserve and desire. And no, Joy, I did not forget about you, but I had to take the tangent when it came to me.
No problem. I'm just listening. And I love this. And I love, Becky, what you said. It's in alignment with my part of my goals, which is to flip the narrative on who we are as human beings by accepting our emotionality, primarily because it has been so, there's all this languaging around negative emotions and positive emotions. And emotions are all positive because they're all bringing you information. But we've been trained to label them and view them as, oh, that's a problem. I can't be angry because that's negative, or fear is negative. And when it's negative, then we want to avoid it. Or we judge. So often people judge themselves, and women still get this about being angry, that, there's something wrong with you, or you're a, what. So to help people to really embrace their feelings as something that is a truth that's happening. Now, that truth may reveal things inside of us that are conditioned by society, by capitalism, or what have you, that we think it's supposed to be this way. I certainly went through many years of my own struggles around being a business person and being a very spiritual and holistic kind of person, and how do these two come together? And so that idea that we're much fuller, and the problem is not the emotions itself, it's the way that we respond to them or mismanage them that creates a negative situation. The problem is not the emotion itself. So once you can learn to be present with whatever feeling you're having in your body and being able to be aware of that and to understand it and to know, oh, this is something that is, I'm angry because something's happening out here that I'm setting a boundary, and I'm saying no to this. And that's what I call clean anger. Or it might be a defensive anger, which is I'm angry because it's triggering some insecurity within myself. These are all of the complexities of the emotional life. But my passion is really to flip the narrative on our judgment around emotions so that we start utilizing them in the way that they're meant to be used to our benefit. And so that's where my passion lies. And then the practical aspect of, achieving your goal, getting your dream, all of the things. I had a lot of women I've worked with that come in with certain goals and they don't know they're going to go down the emotional path. But once they do, they're actually able to get what they want.
That's wonderful. And I start with, it starts with intent, because I get people all the time, oh, I don't believe in goals. I said, yeah, but you're working toward things, right? Yeah. You intend to create this particular life? Uh-huh. Sorry, hate to break it to you, but Joy, did you have like a light bulb that said I need to do this work?
I did. I had done a tremendous amount of work on myself over the years. And I got to a point, I used to be an actor and acting teacher. And I got to a point where I was making my living as an actor and I was teaching acting. And I finally was married. In my 40s, I got married, and because I had never had a relationship that worked, and I was living in San Francisco in this amazing area. And I thought, oh, I've gotten everything I want. And this voice in the back of my head kept saying, now what? And so I went to see someone for a consultation, and she said, well, what do you do better than anybody else in the world? And before I knew it, I said, I feel, because I've always been intensely emotional. And then I said, oh my God, my name is Joy. I think I'm supposed to teach people how to feel. And that was it. And that was in 1999. I created a class for my acting students called Accessing Your Emotions, and I've been on that journey since then.
Wow. That's quite a light bulb.
Yeah.
And Laura's business is called Now What, which you just referenced. So there you go.
My career coaching side is Now What Coaching, and I was an actor too, Joy. So that's interesting tie-in.
I was not an actor.
The role of Deb is always and only played by Deb. That's how I answer the actor question. So let's talk about how you all find balance, and I love the get to know you part, but let's do a little bit more there. So Laura, what is balance or harmony or integration look like for you?
Well, I start with sleep, meaning like I need to know I get enough sleep, right? Because if I get enough sleep, I can do everything else. So, that's how I define. That sounds terrible, but it's not like I nap all day, but it's like how I define. All right, if I don't get the sleep, then I'm not going to have the good day. So what time are we going to bed? What time are we getting up? That's the start. And then, this is actually something that I teach in terms of when I'm asked for time management stuff. I know that as women, especially, we make a to-do list for a day that's really for a year. It's
very long,
long, right? So I actually have my clients do like, okay, there's the master list, there's the weekly list, and there's the daily list, because when you're running around with the master list, you never succeed. You never get through it. So, so that's just a very practical tool that I use. And, I'd love to be able to say, oh, working out is, so integral to my health. I know it is. I'm still working on that being part of my balance, because I will easily go, yeah, not today. I'm working on that. But, it's been a long progress. I mean, a long process of figuring out in business what is balance. Because when I first started, it was work all the time, 24/7, because I didn't know any better. I just didn't know any better. I thought that's what you do. But it's actually the more you increase your self-care and the more you increase your life aspects, the smarter you get about business. It's like, I only have an hour. What am I going to do in that hour? Or like, we took off our name, so is it Molly?
Joy, Becky.
Becky.
Yeah.
I get called Molly at least once a week. Don't worry about it.
It's because of your last name. So Becky, I'm sorry. So Becky's like 3 p.m. My kid comes home. That's it. I'm done. Right. So you design the life piece first, and then you get smart about business in those gaps. And I think that I've always followed that as I got better at it.
That's awesome. And so we've got Stacia, who's watching live. Also want to say hi to Lisa and Meryl and Leanne, who are also watching live. Thank you for chiming in the comments. Stacia is also pro sleep, but she also thanks you for the idea, because she is one of those with the mile-long list. So already had some impact. And actually, Stacia is going to be on next week when we talk about presence with the other Laura, who was on our panel. So Thank you for tuning in today, Stacia. And yes, let's take the list and put it down into doable. But the other thing that you said, which I think needs the highlight and the underline in the asterisks, is you get to design your life.
Right.
And I think people forget, they're like, I have to. No, you get to, especially when you're an entrepreneur, a consultant. But I guess even if you work for other people, this is important as well, right?
I think it's harder when you work in corporate, because there are limitations on your time. It's like, if you're not working from home, we want to see you. You have to be at meetings. You can't get out of here till such and such a time. But I think entrepreneurs actually work more hours, but we put the hours where we want to put them. And we have that flexibility. And, that's certainly what's made it attractive for me.
Yes. We know, and that's the other thing with the list thing, is I do the to-do list and then I divide it into Deb work, client work, project work, book, workshop, speaking, whatever. But I will take the list and then divide out the categories. And then the beginning of the week, you look at, okay, what is the priority? I have a deadline for myself this week, which means that it out-prioritizes everything else. And I know that I will get to the other things when you have the focus on the one. But I guess what I'm saying is we make our own rules, but we have to think about it as we get to, not as an I have to.
Yeah. And then you get to delegate too.
Absolutely. I've got a great web guy. I can do my own website, but why? That's one of my favorite examples. Okay, Joy, what about you? How do you find or create?
Well, the word priority was just stated, and that's something that's been helpful for me and also with clients is, what are your true priorities? So we get an idea of what we think is a priority. But I have an exercise called the universe game, where you kind of put the question, and you can just put in my priorities in the center, and then allow yourself to write down everything that comes to mind without censorship, but not in a list, in random order, because sometimes our logical brain gets in the way of the bigger picture of what our you mentioned soul or a whole being really wants. And so how do we find out what are the top 3 to 5 priorities, and then get those in the right order so that there's a sense of energy. Again, we come back to energetic flow. And then you can take the same exercise and take that number 1 priority, put that in the middle of the page, and write down whatever it is that comes up, and then put that in order so that you utilize a way of what seems like randomness to actually create order to what it is with all of those to-dos that we carry with us inside.
Mm-hmm. And there is so much power in writing things down.
So much.
It's so much.
Important. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the brainstorming piece, the emptying out your brain, because you can't, and that's a huge part of the Deb method, but really any of the work that I do, because you can't rearrange those building blocks in your head. We try.
Yeah.
But the whole, and I love the whole mind mapping thing, because whereas there's some people where they will only write on computer, there's so much power in putting pen to paper.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have the statistics or someone to, say they did the study, but I know there is scientific evidence of the hand, the brain to the eye, to the hand, to the hand, to the eye, to the brain.
Yes.
And it makes a difference to goal setting and to getting stuff done.
Absolutely. Okay, Becky, how do you find balance?
Well, first, I just wanted to say with what Laura was saying, I hope I said it's Laura, right?
Yeah.
No, you don't names up there. That's it.
Not Molly.
What you were talking about with overestimating what we can do, because I always say, like, we as humans always overestimate what we can do on the short term and woefully underestimate what we can do in the long term. So we set really low bar for ourselves for our big goals in life, and then insurmountable goals of what we're supposed to actually accomplish on any given day. And so we need to flip that on its head and set way bigger goals for our lives and really right size our expectations of ourselves on the daily. Because I think another big part of this that can't go overlooked, because we're talking a lot here about women, not only women, but women carry a much larger load of caregiving tasks in the world, whether that's for children, aging parents, partners, whatever it is, homes. We tend to do a lot more work than men do. So we need to make sure that our work load accounts for that, right? I mean, obviously the ideal situation is for things to be equitable and have fine parity in that, but that's not always the case. And so we need to make sure that we honor that we're carrying a larger load than men are. And so our workload has to reflect that if we want to really be kind to ourselves. So I always talk about right sizing our expectations of ourselves. And on that, like, short-term, long-term, I love the pen to paper, and I do it for big picture goals and getting that kind of clarity. I love mind mapping, but as somebody who's neurodivergent, I find, for me anyway, it really helps to have electronic tools that once I get down to the level of granular tasks, these are the things I need to do. I love to have a tool that I can use. I've built a dashboard for myself where I have my daily priorities, and it picks, I have 3 things that are top priorities, and I try not to have more than 3 things I'm going to do in a day. If I get more done, that's lovely. But like 3, I can accomplish and I can feel like I've met my goals. It also helps me with pushing out deadlines. When I start to think about all the things I want to do, I either double the deadline or have the things I think I will get done, because I know in that short term, I will think I can do so much. And then I'm like, oh, why can't I get this all done? So that I generally try to just add twice as long as I think it's going to be to the deadline. So those are some of the things that I do to just try to help right size all of that so that I'm not putting so much pressure on myself every day for all I have to get done. And sort of with what Joy is talking about too, a little bit, I think, around emotions and stuff, to kind of to reduce some of that emotional feeling and attachment I have to expectations. I always remind myself, especially as a self-employed person, all of it's made up. The deadlines are all made up. I made the deadline. I can change the deadline. Like, there's very few things in my business where the deadline is real, right? And I like to remember that, like, it's all made up. So if it has to move, it's not failure. It's me being the boss bee that I am and saying, no, I'm changing that deadline because I get to do that. And so I also try to remember that to help me with some of that, like, pressure that we can start to feel. Again, capitalism gets its grips on us and makes everything urgent. And so I have to remind myself, like, I made the deadline. I can change the deadline.
Yes. And I think that on that point, we can all agree the business balance is making the rules, creating the coloring book, and then coloring it in a way that works for our lives. I particularly love this. We overestimate what we can do in the short term and underestimate what we can do in the long term. Completely logical, And I hadn't heard a phrase like that before. So you can bet I'm going to be repeating that. Thank you ever so much.
Well, and I heard it from someone else. I wish I could tell you who, but years ago. And I was like, that is exactly it. Yes, that, and it's a human tendency. It probably has some name.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing, choose 3 things you can do in a day. There's another way to flip it that I've heard is that you can make as long of a list as you want, as long as you plan to only do a certain number of things on it. So either way you look at it, I tend to do it by the week as well. It's like, okay, what do you want to accomplish this week? Look at your life, look at your appointments, and then do something that sets you up for success, because you're not gonna. I'll give a great example. I've got a book coming out in the fall. Our deadline was January, and then we had an editing deadline. I think it was like the beginning. We got the corrections the end of January. We got them, or at the end of February, we got them in the middle of March. Then we had another round. And this project that now gets prioritized didn't get a second thought until I got through those deadlines, because it couldn't. There was just, when you know who you are, what you do, the priorities, then you're able to say, okay, when I get this done, I get to move on to the next thing. But we know what's going to overwhelm us. We have it in us to make those decisions. But I think sometimes we forget, because we do want to be super women people, right? We think we can do more than we can. And then there's the self-care piece. So I love that you all talked about the things you do for business balance, but I would love to know what you do to take care of yourself. I know Laura said that she wants to do the health thing better. We all do. What about you, Joy? What do you do on the life balance part?
I exercise 5 mornings a week. I walk probably 5 days a week. I'm very fortunate where I live. I can walk across the street, and I've got a park in the Bay Trail, San Francisco Bay Trail. And so I walk for a half an hour, sometimes more, probably at least 5 times a week. And so I find that moving physically is very important to me. And then doing my spiritual work is whatever that is, meditating or listening to a podcast or people that I follow to keep feeding myself spiritually really helps me to stay grounded and remember who I am, especially when I'm trying to make something happen.
Yes, it's very difficult when you have no control over certain things that come on, universe, get with the program.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what about you, Becky? What do you do for the life part?
Yeah, well, in my dashboard that I have where I'm tracking some of my business tasks, I also have a personal section because I need that. First of all, I like to gamify things. It helps me stay motivated and excited about doing certain things, especially things I don't really want to do, like drinking water, which I've been doing during this call, because I track how much water I drink in a day to make sure that I'm getting that in. Look, we've all got our water.
We all have our water.
I track movement, not for any, like, it has to be a certain amount or whatever, just am I moving my body that day? I try to make sure that I track that to get excited. And then, also really important, and sleep is another thing I track too, Laura. I love sleep as well. And I've been doing a lot of things to improve that as I'm going through perimenopause. It's been more challenging. So that presents a whole new level of challenges, but also has brought more focus to sleep for me. But the other big thing I would say is that I really make sure that I'm balancing time with family. And I do that by my schedule is flexible. Again, I make the rules. The deadlines are all fake. If my son has a field trip, I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to be there. And I can do that. And I can rearrange things. And again, I think part of it, going back to that value set and the kinds of clients we choose to work with and that sort of thing, my clients understand and they aren't going to get upset. And they're not going to be like, oh, you're moving me so you can go to a field trip. They're going to be like, that's awesome. Tell me how the field trip goes, right? So I'm really careful to do that kind of thing. And then I'm also, a big part of balance for me is reducing my screen time and my scroll time and and my doom scrolling time lately. And so I've taken up embroidery this year, which has been fun to have a handcraft so that I'm doing less scrolling. And so that's also been really important for me in finding some just mental like balance of like reducing some of that mental chatter and the overwhelm that can happen. So those are some of the things that I've been doing.
Your other favorite line from tonight is the deadlines are all fake. We
Well,
we
I
have
have to remind
control.
myself.
Absolutely. And I do, I like to cook. I am a reformed non-cook because you can't do anything else when you're chopping vegetables. So I think it's really important to have something tactile that you can do on a regular basis that gets you away from the doom scrolling. I'll watch like less than 5 minutes of news a couple times a day just because I want to be informed. But that's all I get because I don't want to be cranky, right? And then the walking thing, I do, the Fitbit says 10,000 steps. I do 5,000 I do 5,500 because that's realistic for me. 10,000 is not. But I live in LA, and especially with the time change, we're going to get off of this and I'm going to take a walk. I like to do one when it starts to cool down. But I'll sometimes during the day, if I'm like, no, I've been at the computer too long, even if I just like walk around the block, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, there's so much, it does so many things that I'm sure are actual like medical, but it's like etch a sketches your brain and you can look at things in a different perspective once you take a walk and get the energy flowing. So and you've all given a ton of advice on what things work for you. I feel like let's do like, I don't know, it's a little early to gift goals. So how about we say, what is one thing, like, because you've all mentioned a lot of them, but what is one tip that has worked, like blown your mind, how well it's worked for bringing more balance into your life? Joy, you look like you really want to answer.
Oh, I'm actually thinking like, what's one thing? I really think one of the most important things for me is to recognize in my body when I have resistance to something or when I'm getting a yes in terms of, do I get involved in this, or do I work with this person? Because I've had coaches myself, or courses or trainings when I may mentally think, oh, that's a good thing, but I always check in with my body to ask, is this a yes or is it a no? So that when I've learned to trust my intuition, and I find that's an extremely important aspect of keeping balance, is to recognize that there is a knowing that we have that is not necessarily intellectual, though it is informed by our intellect, but that we have a whole being. We're a whole person and an embodied being. And especially after I studied somatic psychology and got my master's in that and became a therapist for a while, though that wasn't my goal. But I learned a lot about how we carry messages in our body. And so that's one of the things that I like to encourage people to really tune into their own body and to sense they have an inner knowing that will always still steer them in the right direction if they really pay attention.
I completely agree that we know the answers. And if we don't know, our body knows. And if we can't decide, this is one came from my mom. If you can't make a decision on something, you make one decision and then you see how you sleep.
Mm.
And if you don't sleep well, you make the other one and you test it that way.
Mm.
But your body knows the things. It's almost like in figuring out your goals, the path that you want, your body knows that too. We know the questions. We need to gift ourselves the time to answer. So thank you for bringing that very important point up. Laura, what is your big aha balance?
Well, Becky mentioned handcrafts and stuff. Like I do crochet, and I paint furniture, and that's really important. But I got to tell you, like, one of the biggest things I do for balance, or that I did for balance, is 3 years ago, I got a dog. I didn't want a dog when my kids were little because I didn't need the fourth child to take care of, right? But I got a dog for my 60th birthday for myself against everybody's wishes. And it's the greatest balance tool. My Layla, I walk her every day and I have to, get out and walk. I stop for breaks because she's staring at me with her little cuteness, and I take a cuteness break. And, just petting a pet is known to bring down your stress levels. And it's just, like, I didn't know that was going to be a benefit, but it's actually become like an on-purpose tool, having this pet to take care of myself.
When I go walking, I always feel like my hand is empty because I've passed so many dog walkers. Amazing.
I love that because I honestly, intuition for sure too, Joy. I trust my intuition. It took a while to get there. That whole somatic training and all that helps because for many of us, we're so conditioned to not trust our bodies that it's hard to listen to it. But when you get there, it's great. And the dog thing, my dog's right down by my feet and she's just the best little office buddy. And definitely, I would say if you're asking me stress relief, she would be my number one. But for a tip, I guess the thing that has helped me maybe the most, or that was the biggest for me, and I think this works for people pleasers, but in my case, it's because for anybody who knows Clifton Strengths, I'm an activator. I don't have a big space between idea and action, which can be great, can also be really problematic on creating a far too big to-do list. So I've learned to practice the pause is kind of what I call it. I've learned to build in a pause before saying yes to anything, especially yes, but even no, to give myself a beat where I go and, like, if it's an email, even if it's somebody in person, I now ask, can I have a minute to think about that? Or can I get back to you whenever? Because I'm very quick to make decisions based just on like how I'm feeling in that moment or what sounds exciting right then. And so building in a pause helps me really think a little more realistically about what I can and can't do. So that's been really helpful for me, and like saying no a little more often, or even just advocating for a longer deadline or a different time frame, or maybe a lesser role, things like that. So I think for me, that's probably been the most helpful.
And that's, if you think about it, that's like business 101, right? It's, you never say, someone offers you a job, you say, let me sleep on it. Someone offers you this, let me sleep on it. And I think as entrepreneurs, we tend to forget that because I get really excited. But it's also important to know what you can and cannot do and be able to say, great, I'm not taking new clients now. Let's revisit. And sometimes it's not even a no, it's a not now.
Well, Joy, I'm sure you're better at this now, but as a youthful actor, you learn to be like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And then you find yourself on an ice skating rink with a professional and you're being like thrown across the ice. It's like, oh, I guess I don't ice skate as well as I want.
Is that a personal experience you had?
Yes, that was a personal experience. But I wondered, I'm sure we've gotten better as we got older, but it is an old acting thing, is like, can you roller skate? Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, the pause is a beautiful thing when you're.
Yeah, I could really relate, Becky, to that very much.
This has been such an amazing conversation. I want to say hello to Russ, who is now saying hello to us. Anybody, we're waving if you're listening, hear the wave. And if you've got things that work well for you on balance, feel free to put it in the comments. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And now I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. You've all already given such amazing information, but what is one thing that anyone could do tonight, tomorrow, immediately to rethink, reimagine, re-embrace their work life, balance, harmony, integration, whatever we want to call it?
I'll go in the spirit of deadlines are all made up. Push back one deadline. Look at your calendar and find one thing that you set the deadline that was completely arbitrary, and you could push it back. And by doing so, you can feel an immediate sense of relief in your body. If that thing exists, just give yourself that gift. Do it. Push the bad deadline back a day, a week, a month, and allow yourself to feel that relief that comes from doing it.
That's great. Because we put too much pressure on ourselves, we also have the power to remove it, which is the entire point, right? It's great. Okay, Joy?
I would say find time for stillness. Set a timer. If it's 5 minutes, if you only have 3 minutes, do it for 3 minutes. So whatever works, it doesn't have to be a half an hour or anything, but just like set a timer and sit and tune into your breath. Notice what's happening in your body. Allow whatever thoughts to drift by, and watch your getting into thinking, but just getting still. Fortunately, I can look out my window and I can see trees. Sometimes I just like look at the trees, or we have a lot of birds around here. If there's something you can focus on, it's great to have something in your office if you have a desk or a plant or an image or a picture that you can just sit and look at, if that helps. But find time for just being still and really letting everything else go, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Joy, I'm going to do that after this call. I just wanted to say thank you. I need that. It's a great way to go from this to life after this. So I'm going to do that after this call. That's my commitment.
Great.
I love it when this happens. Amazing. Laura, you have to follow that one.
Well, mine's not as simple, but it's very effective. If you're listening or watching, write down 5 to 10 things that are annoying you. and look at where you need a new boundary, because we discussed boundaries today, and it's like, it might be someone's tone of voice, it might be clutter, it might be, you don't want to start work at 8:30 in the morning, you want to start it at 9. 10 things that are annoying you, and come up with a solution, and you will feel a different feeling after you take care of a few things on that list.
Can I tell you, I think it's amazing that the three of you have given one good idea after another, and still came up with 3 unique goals on top of them. So thank you all for that. Before we wrap, where can people learn more about each of you? Laura?
You see my name across there, or if you need me to say it, it's Laura Berman Fortgang, just add a .com, and you can find me. Or if you can only remember Fortgang, there aren't any others. Just Google Fortgang. Don't Google Berman, you'll get the sex doctor. Google Fortgang. LauraBermanFortgang.com.
Awesome. Okay, and Becky?
I'm Becky Mollenkamp. There's no sex doctors by that name, sadly. That would be fun. And you can spell it wrong and you'll still find it on Google. And if you go there to BeckyMollenkamp.com/book, my book's coming out April 30th, and I would love any support for that. It's about how to build a business that honors your full humanity.
Wonderful. And big congrats on that. And Joy?
And the same as Laura, if you just look at my name, JoieSeldon.com, you can go there and find some free giveaways and information, and a way to contact me if you'd like.
Okay, I think this is the first time where everybody's website has been their name. Mine isn't even my name. So, but if you go to, I am at the Deb Method everywhere. If you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you can read the recaps and watch the replays and get the goals and the tips and all the good stuff. And if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do helping people create winning book proposals, go to thebookproposalexpert.com. But wait, there's more. If you need help towards your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books. And for inspiration and motivation, I am live with amazing guests every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also subscribe to GoalChat on your favorite podcast platform. Okay, friends, what final thought do you want people? Yes, I'm asking for more. What final thought do you want to leave people with today? Joy?
Don't be afraid to experience joy when the world looks like it's falling apart. Cultivating joy, which is the emotion of connection, is very good for all aspects of your life. So find fun and joyful things to do.
Okay, can I tell you why I love that in particular, especially
Sure.
in this
Yeah.
conversation? Can I? Like, of course I am. I equate goals with hope, right? So
Mm.
when you're working towards something, you know that it's that flicker. It's that flicker of joy because you're working toward making things better. So I love the looking at things with joy. And if you don't love what you're doing, that might come up on that list from Laura. Then that is a very major tweak. But even if you do a little bit each day with something you love, you can bring your life, your balance, your work into something that is going to get you. I'm saying lots of words in the wrong order. If it comes up that what is annoying you, that your work is not so great or your balance isn't so great or life, maybe you need to tweak it, and that will enable you to find more joy as well. So, and with that, Laura, what final thought do you want to leave people with?
It just kind of hit me that balance is a state of mind. It's not a state of your universe, but it's a state of mind. And I think it's connected to the joy that Joy was talking about. It's like, it's really taking a deep breath and saying, everything's okay. Even in the chaos. For the moment, I'm okay. And that's balance, that sense of like okayness. That's all it needs to be.
The sense of okayness is balance. Yeah, we have little control over what's going on in the world, but we do control our state of mind. So super important point to bring up. Becky, final thought.
Yeah, I guess I'll go back to the beginning of this with harmony and that idea of musical harmony and creating harmony in our lives. And no symphony is going to come out and do perfect harmony on a brand new song that no one's ever played before. It takes practice. And I would say it's the same thing for your own life. Finding harmony is a practice. It takes time. It takes trial and error. You might get things wrong. Some days it's not going to work. And I think there's just a lot of grace for self inside of that, and like honor that some days you won't hit the mark. And that's okay too. It's easy to beat ourselves up when we try to start finding balance and then suddenly we're like, oh, everything's out of balance and I've screwed it all up. And it's okay. It's going to take time. It is a practice, and we just keep working and knowing that also means it may have to change. What worked last month may not work this month, and that's also okay. And for women in particular, I think sometimes it's also about honoring our own ebbs and flows of our own cycles and the ways that we show up due to some of the hormonal fluctuations that we may experience, and building that stuff in too. So really finding a really self-honoring system, allowing it to change and not beating yourself up on those times where it just doesn't work out, because that's also okay.
It is also okay. It's not only okay, it's life. We make the rules, we create the life we want. It is within our power. That elusive balance thing. So if you've got balance, let us know what works for you. If you need more, to take these ideas for a spin. Thank you so much, Laura Berman Fortgang, Becky Mollenkamp, Joie Seldon, for joining me. Thank you for tuning into GoalChat. You want balance? Remember, it is within your power. Go on out there and go for it, because we know you can do it. Thanks, everyone.